Jumbo Africa.
Well, we say Jumbo Africa, and this time around, I must tell you that there's plenty to talk about. Excitement. We've got a blast from the past. Yeah, no. Coach Sauce. CAF things here. We've got serious people here. We've got internationals. Chineke.
This guy, you're making us proud.
No. And we've got Umshonisha and right there on the other side.
Right wing,
Yeah.
Put it across, So qualities coming
No. So how's CAF B doing?
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's
all
been
nice.
A lot of learning, a lot of notes, picking up from things, starting to align them into a proper set.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Technical stuff.
Yeah, the technocrat stuff.
Technocrat stuff. So I heard through the grapevine that you're graduating next week.
Yeah, must be there.
We need to hold that one. That moment is coming.
I don't know. One thing I can tell you that here we're talking about an A student. As who go there just to take a picture with the certificate. But the marks are not saying that. Because the siyamazi bangathi hayi asimazi ukuthi hayi amnandanga ama-marks awangenanga u-14 ne-certificate kodwa wena akanazo. Yenzeka leyo nto ne?
No, it's possible. Very possible.
That is a proper coach. Everything is proper. I'm with him. You can't do manga. Otherwise, no, I will tackle him if you do manga.
What's your? You've got a CAF what currently?
C.
Your CAF C. So
but I'm doing my goalkeeping. Advanced goalkeeping.
Okay.
Normal goalkeeping course, advanced goalkeeping. In Africa, you have 3. In
Yes.
Europe, you have 5. So I'm just left with the one left now.
Correct. Correct.
Because I don't want to go into their space.
Yeah.
These coaches, sometimes when you have too much qualification, they're not happy.
Can't get a job,
So you just go specific what you are, what you know. I'm a goalkeeper coach, I stay on my space.
Yeah.
Qualified coaches, qualified journalists. No. There's no manga here. Yeah, no. As my journalists, no magama. It's in black and white.
Not influencers.
Black and white. Well, this is African Football Connect, and today we're connecting you to African football. Plenty to talk about. We're going to the WAFCON this weekend, but also we review the Club World Cup. African teams, they are back here with us here at home, but there's also some excitement in terms of what some of our teams and also our players achieved at that side. Well, some teams are more than 230 million rands richer. Jesus Christ, I'm sure soon we'll be seeing people in Dubai, in Italy.
Would it be time
Greece.
though? Would there be time though when the league's going to start soon?
No, I think in terms of periodization, there will be time. There will be time. Remember? Okay, maybe let me just leave it that for you, because unezinto ze-CAF B onazo engazazi.
Give us the CAF B stuff.
Yeah.
On periodization.
Exactly. Maybe so. Let's just start talking about the Club World Cup. I know we discussed at length last week because Sundowns had not played their last game when we were talking. But what has been your impression? We're just going to go quickly around the African teams, particularly Sundowns. And I'm asking this because I saw Sundowns having a good chance of taking out Fluminense last week, and I watched Fluminense last night against Inter, not really having much of a hustle.
Yeah. Well, Sundowns has impressed the whole of Europe, if I may say that, in the way how they've played. It helps to adopt the modern type of football that is being played across board, which is, for me, I think, what we should be looking at in terms of how the relationship between players and players trying to save up more space by using the ball, and also the technical aspect that comes into it, which is highly technical. So them using the usage of spaces and the way how they retain position. We had the stats that it only took 19 seconds to retain the ball back after they've lost it, which is something that they've been very dominant in most areas. In their build-up, they've been fluid. They've never given teams an opportunity. Regarding the fact that in terms of their physical quality, it wasn't something that really impacted them. But however, their technical skills helped them to actually to be the team that is highly favored and the team that was followed around because of the interesting football that they've been playing. We've been seeing not much a Sundowns that will score, but a Sundowns that actually show the true sign of an African team that could play better football and beautiful football.
So, in terms of the progress, what would you say about the Sundowns that we saw here in the Sundowns? Because we were all critical of how Sundowns finished the CAF Champions League, not just in the final, but even on their way to the final.
Yep.
So what was different with the Sundowns in this tournament and the Sundowns that was finishing in the Champions League?
Well, I think most of the players that were actually there, they wanted to market themselves. The way that they played off their sleeves. And you can pinpoint like performances from individuals that we can safely say that there's an interest and there is a knock at Sundowns' door that they want those players, the way how they executed themselves. Compared to the Champions League, I think it's a different beast altogether in terms of how the games is played compared to the international standard. I would say, when it comes to international competition, we are actually witnessing more of the tactical side. So teams in Europe are more tactical, more than the technical aspect. If you watch the game against Dortmund, it was a game that we also felt that Sundowns were supposed to win, but their tactical quality proved them right, that they wait for moments where they're going to come in and actually score. Fluminense the same. Most of the people, they were saying that Fluminense and Sundowns playing similar football. Well, we disagree. Still again, there's a little bit of flair, but Sundowns showed more flair, which really, if they used the opportunities well, they would have converted and won the game. With Fluminense, they were more in terms of the tactical side, which is no way to be. Their rivals on the box, breaking down play, their defensive structure, their attacking structure, their group tactics, their individual tactics, and also the team tactics. That comes in handy.
Greg, as someone who's coaching at the highest level, there's always been this notion that yes, African teams play good football, but maybe not really effective football. And working with a European coach, I'm sure those are also even the key elements you're focusing on.
Yeah, I mean, you can see with the African teams, you know, would you go back to, apart from Sundowns, the Ahly team too, you know, you see a lot of chances they didn't take, you know. With the European teams, you have one chance, you take it, you know. And I see, in terms of, you know, the European coaches, which I work with, you know, they always try to say that if you play football, you play to win. You know, this thing of overplaying the ball and keeping the ball is not going to give you points, you know. So you just have to win games, you know. And how you win the games doesn't matter. But you can play nice football to win the game is good. You can see a typical example with Man City and Ahly had yesterday, you know. You can see the game. Man City, they keep the game, they keep the ball, you know, and they still score. But Ahly had, they were just scoring, you know, set piece, you know, and they just play on the counter.
But it's interesting how Hugo Broos has managed to blend the two.
Yeah, there's one thing that happened to South African national team. I think he's one, you know, shining star. You know, for him to come and change everything. South African national team now, you can go anywhere in the whole world. A lot of countries, you know, respect South African national team, including Nigeria. You know, the way, you know, they used to perceive South African national team, because he changed a lot of things. He wants to win games, and he makes sure he brings the hard-working players and the flip players. So you have to mix it, you know, and you always know what you're playing for. You're playing to win the games. At the end of the day, when they want to read the news, they talk about who win the game, you know. So I just feel like, you know, Hugo Broos, you mentioned, I mean, he's a big typical example. If South Africa have to lose him, I think, you know, it's going to be a big loss for South African national team.
I think one of the most addition that I can actually have just in a snippet. What Broos has really brought in is the understanding. So there's something that, firstly, that we need to understand. Football is played based on philosophy, and Hugo Broos was the first one to actually identify what is the philosophy of South Africans. Then he can fit into those blocks, because now when you neglect the philosophy, This is only when now you're calling for disaster, because he has put everything together, which is the flair, the aggression, the speed, the agility, all of that.
Yes.
But again, where does it stem from? It comes from attributes. When you start looking at players, now you're looking at players' attributes. We don't have the most of the biggest players. But now, how does that inform? It informs in the sense that, okay, when we do things, we don't have big players, we have nippy, quicker players, so this is how we're going to be playing. So that's what it changed.
Yeah, and there's also, it's also, for me, even watching this Sundowns team, you know, there's this notion that Sundowns, some players will, big name players, but if you look at one of the shining star of this team, Divine Lunga, coming from Golden Arrows, the way he's performed there. But even just besides Lunga as well, even other players who've done well, Sundowns, the Neo Mayemas. I mean, no one was looking at Neo Mayema, so and now you see them, and we also now even look at Hugo Broos. I mean, the players he's been getting even from TS Galaxy, for that matter, from different teams in the PSL.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned it in the past that for me, Divine Lunga, I think the coaches are here. He's the most improved player for me last season. I just don't know what has happened in his game. Maybe it's a little bit of belief by a coach. He didn't play much under the previous coach, but this guy came through and showed confidence in him. He was a little bit unlucky with an injury that kept him out for a while. Yeah, you are right. I think it was not I think maybe it's part of the plan going forward not to make Sundowns an individual team where they can function together as a collective. Some of the players that didn't really think of them that much are the ones that shown at this World Cup, you know, and it's good to see that. That can also maybe in a way pose a problem for the coming season, to show that they're a dynamic side. They'll continue to improve, and I think they will dominate again next season. And also, just looking at the overall performance of our teams at the World Cup, I sort of got a sense that there's not too much gap in terms of quality. If you look at most of those teams that are Europeans and South Americans, I think the difference really is just the issue of financial muscle. They've got more money, they're able to attract better players. But even with that, our guys here really have competed very well. Of course, I'm a little bit disappointed with the margin of scores for Ahly and Esperance and them. But they were never really completely outplayed in most of the matches that they played.
Yeah. Still on news, so now the post-mortem. We know that sometimes Sundowns is not really a selling team. Big offers will come and there's not going to be much. But I sense that this time around, at least 2 or 3 players could be moving and looking at the strong interest that is coming from outside. And I think especially those ones who are coming from South America, they feel that 1 or 2 of them feel that they can also try to leverage from this tournament to be in their national teams, especially Allende.
Yeah, I think Allende, Ribeiro, the other player who I would really, really love to see him go now is Tebza Mkwena. I think he's playing on another level.
Yes.
Even though he's a plus for the club in the Champions League, it will be sad for them to lose him, but I think he's ready now to go to Europe. Obviously, he's not a player who can go to a big club in Europe. He needs to go to the right environment where they can.
Because of the age also.
Because of the age also. I feel sad
They always talk about resellable value these days.
I feel sad also for Ikram Reinas. I think Ikram Reinas has proved that he can play that level. Also, there's going to be an issue of age there. But for the South Americans, they're not that old. And some of them were in Europe anyway before they came here. So acclimatization and all those kinds of things won't be a problem. And you feel also that the European market prefer more Europeans and West Africans than Southern African players. But for Tebza, I think is one who can go. I'm not sure about Ronwen. Goalkeepers normally, as they say, they mature a little bit later. But I think maybe Greg can talk about his chances of moving to a club in Europe.
Exactly, because look at Al Hilal. Yusuf Bono. If Bono is leading Al Hilal like that, and they are now in the next stage of the competition,
Yeah.
and there's more money, especially for goalkeepers in Saudi, and Ronwen is carrying already that big tag of being a top African player. I think for me it's a move that I can take.
No, he has to. He has to. You know, I mean, going back from the last AFCON, you know, Champions League, you know, for him to go for a big nomination in terms of, you know, the Oscar Award, you know, and, you know, with this tournament too, you know, I just feel like it's time for him. You know, sometimes, you know, you always have that, you know, comfortability in terms of where you're playing for, in terms of Sundowns, but sometimes you need to test yourself. And Rowan, I think he has every attribute for him to play in overseas, mostly in Belgian League, in France League. Okay. Vincent Eyama started from Israel, went to France. I think Rowan...
And age-wise, it's not that bad.
No, it's not, because as you get older, that's where you get better. And now he has played everything in Africa, in terms of African football, and in terms of Sundowns, you know. So I just feel like, you know, for him to go to French League is going to be one big plus for the...
But I will tell you something, and the CAF President once said this in one of his press conferences, I think it was in Angola, where he said he knows that from his time, I think when he was in charge of Sundowns, that they used to pay better salaries than some clubs, especially the Scandinavian countries.
But you see,
and so there's this issue now. Remember, at Sundowns, in terms of their bonus policy as well. So some big decisions, and sometimes yes,
You must be on a shopping window.
yes,
But chance.
but also, especially with some leagues, okay, maybe the top 5 leagues. But, you know, yes, Belgium is good for young players who are growing up. But those already who are...
matured,
French League is good for him.
Yes.
Because you cannot say for him to go to Saudi. I mean, no, not now. Rowan can still play in French League. He can play in Lille. He can play in
Also securing the bag, Baba.
You know,
Yeah. Because look at that Al Hilal. Look at that Al Hilal. Look at the players who are there.
Yeah.
Kalado,
It's a top.
Koulibaly went there. Bruno,
Yeah.
not that far.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, I just feel like he is general play in terms of a goalkeeper.
Okay.
How he plays and how he carries himself, and for South African, you know, in terms of the national team, you know, him being in French League, I mean, he's gonna be one. He's not gonna go one of the lower team because he's a top goalkeeper. He's a top goalkeeper.
I think one of the attributes of Rowan. Sorry, Clay. I think one of the attributes of Rowan as a modern goalkeeper, I think he's most on many coaches' eye on the window in terms of the Club World Cup, in terms of what they want. Because he's the plus goalkeeper. Let's say, for instance, you get a red card. He becomes the second central defender in terms of the build-up play. So the modern goalkeeper is the one that will assist in terms of the build-up and also give security in that area should there be a counter-attack or the balls that are played in behind, where he's the one that actually comes and cover up to that space. So I think when coaches do watch that, they look at the keeper in terms of the attributes that he has, from the technical perspective, from the physical aspect, and also from the tactical side. So when you blend all those two, it's one of the players that you want to actually have in your team as an inclusion that will give you an extra number. That's why Sundowns were so successful in terms of when they're built, because they had him to marshal the first point.
I mean, during those days, you know, where the Bafana team was very strong, you have the like of Andrea and say was at Fulham, you have Vonks, you know, he was in Holland. You know, the Dutch league, Ajax, he can play. I feel for me, Rowan now, you know, forget about the money, you know, forget about anything. For now, he needs to test himself outside. The same thing with Kune. We talk about Kune now. Kune, you know, during the what they call it, World Cup. He has the opportunity to go overseas. You don't want,
and
after your career.
He had two very good offers, but unfortunately they were not taken up.
The same thing with Rowan now. He has the opportunity now. He's national team captain. He's a big player. He has done everything for Sundowns. He has, in African football, everyone knows him, you know. So he needs to go out and test himself. So
are you then saying, to the point that I wanted to ask you, because there is a strong feeling that both at club and national team level, he doesn't have strong competition. So how do you, because also, we must also be fair with him. He's not going to bring competition for himself.
Yeah.
So how do we help him?
He's his own competition. the more he get better.
Okay. So he's creating a gap.
He's creating a gap. So it's not his fault. So it's not his own fault, So he's getting better every day. You getting close to him, he's going forward. So the same thing we're talking about Kune, but unfortunately his talent, we didn't see it overseas. Because if Kune played overseas, it could have been something different. The same thing with Roland. We don't want to stay here in 2 years' time and saying that he's supposed to. So he has to go. Forget about the money. He has won everything for Sundowns. They're gonna win it next 10 years. The league with him or without him. But for him to test himself now,
you're saying Sundowns? No. You're being fair.
No, I've been fair because the quality they have, and you can see how they play in the Club World Cup now. You can see the quality is there. They compete with the highest team in European football, in South American football. So I just feel like for him personally, as a goalkeeper, you don't want to have a regret after your career and say that I should have. No. Now is the time for him to go and test yourself and see how. You are the captain of the national team. Go to French league, go to Dutch league. I mean, top.
Sure. Zozo. Baba. We know Sundowns' bonus policy. It's always been out there to say, you win the cup, you share everything. And I want to get Skulman on the inside. He's been there, done it, got the T-shirt. I think the boys are going to roll in nicely.
Yeah, the president is no longer there now, but I think the people of the club are very, very generous. As we said, a wealthy family. I don't think they're going to share all this money that they've got now in the US, but they're going to get a big chunk of that money. I've always said it here that I am more than happy to see players make money.
100%.
Because they are the ones who are running around on the pitch. The conditions in the US were not easy.
Yeah.
It was very tough there. I mean, these guys finished the league, 2 weeks off, went all the way to America, played competitive matches, come back, not enough rest now. The season is starting on the 1st of August. You have to feel for them. They must make as much money as they can, and so that also the money can look after them when they're tired. We are tired of seeing these things all the time, that the players are not in a position to save enough money that can look after them when they retire. So even if they are taking 2 million or 3 million each at home, I'm very happy for them and their families because they deserve it.
And I stand to be corrected. I think SAFA is going to get something out of this money. There's a certain percentage. I know when it's in CAF, for instance, even from the money that Sundowns got in the Champions League, there's a certain percentage that's going to go to SAFA.
FIFA must instruct these ones to take that money to national teams to prepare for tournaments. Not get even a cent.
Yeah. So the coach has done enough to continue Zozwangiti?
The coach was in a bit of pressure when they went. There was talk that he may lose his job if they don't do well. Now, won one match, played very well in the other two, even though they didn't get the results. I think he has done enough to get the job.
Yes.
As you know.
But what was the mandate?
The mandate?
Yeah.
I don't think
the mandate of him.
It was not made clear.
No, Sundowns' mandate has always been clear.
To get out of the group.
Yeah, no, Sundowns' mandate, and we're going to put it up here, the Sundowns mandate.
Yes.
As you can see it there.
Yes.
You can see the mandate there. There's the mandate. So the mandate, as you can see there, win the league, win the Champions League, and at least win one domestic cup.
Did he achieve that?
That is always Sundowns' mandate.
Was that achieved?
The coach has not achieved it, but you must remember, even the previous coaches did not achieve that mandate.
Yeah, but the mandate.
But the previous coach left.
Yes, he left because of that.
Allegedly,
but
because
even
of the
before
mandate.
that, you must remember, even to the coach Peter Star, he was not always getting the mandate, but he was continuing.
So you're saying it's not always.
I think they must be flexible.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you run the risk of firing a coach every season.
Yeah, because also the reality is that he didn't even have a pre-season.
No,
last season.
I mean, he's like.
So now let's judge him fairly.
Yeah.
Let's see how he goes this season. But I think this coming season, if he cannot win the Champions League,
that will be a big problem because that's the big fish. The problem that's announced is that one there at the back.
I am still not convinced.
Hey, the one there at the back. No, I think we cannot stay on Sundowns forever.
No.
And next week when you come back, I want to hear from you. And I think next week you'll be busy with the CAF beer, and then we'll even have a more quality analysis from the last phase.
The 13th of July.
Yeah, Coach Sauce, let's move to the next point. Just to breeze through quickly now, we had two players with Wydad. For me, I don't really want to discuss Wydad that much because I think their results are also showing of a team that was not even in the CAF Confed, that was not even in the CAF Champions League, a team that is even struggling or domestically when you compare with the other three teams that are champions from their own national federations. But everyone is talking about Lorch. And I think he's done enough to remind South Africans ukuthi ubani news.
Well, I think Lorch had a wonderful tournament. It just showed the quality that the player has in terms of the technical side. He showed a lot, and on stats, he was the most viewed player on the transfer market. That needs to tell you something in terms of how he actually prepared. I think also it comes to the player's mind. I think a change of environment was always needed for Lorch to actually resurface and become a new brand of player that he is today. Because I think him going to Wydad really transformed Lorch and turning him into the beast that you always know him. Because now there's a recall that he must come back to Bafana because of his display. If he can put up a performance like that against the biggest club in the world, how much more do we need him for the country? We need him more than ever now in terms of going into the tournament that we're going to be having as an addition that he's going to be.
Last week we were discussing here about him and was also sharing that actually before even he went to the Club World Cup, there were a lot of offers because he's also playing up there in the north. But there's a lot of offers for him in the Gulf region or in the areas around.
Yes.
And I think now you say, so when you're the most viewed, it means that there's more
interest.
Interest in you.
There's more interest in terms in the highest league. Because I'm sure the highest league has tapped into it, which is one of the favorites of Greg, which is go to the European space, which is France, which is I feel that he still has a chance to be there. Then he can eventually maybe make his way to the English EPL, because that's an easy gateway to get into that. Because if you are viewed like that, Manchester City had a lot to say about the boy in terms of the tactical side, the technical side, and the game understanding, orientation. So he was quite good.
Top player. Yeah. So we saw the statement from Mailula and also Wydad. I guess it was always a no-brainer that he was going to go back to his club. But I get the sense that even Toronto, now you choose some offers, and there are even better offers of Mailula going to Europe.
Yeah, I think whatever he do, I hope he doesn't go back to Toronto.
Yeah.
That thing was a complete waste of time for him. He needs to go to a better league, so that he can revive also his Bafana career. He's still a young player who can come back and contribute to the national team. I was thinking maybe they can do a deal at Wydad. Also, could have been good for him playing Champions League. Well, no, they're not playing Champions League, but maybe that's the reason why he's leaving. Wydad, that they're not playing Champions League. I anticipate that if they were playing Champions League, it was probably going to they will make a deal to stay. But I really hope that he goes to a better club in the better league.
And Greg, I don't think Sundowns can stand in Lorch's way here.
For me, they shouldn't, because they play without him. You can see they have players there, but because they own him, they can decide to bring him back. But they shouldn't stand in this way. They should allow the boy to progress, and you can see in the World Cup Club Championship, he has done very well. He is tactically, he has done everything that every coach will wish for. I just feel like, for me, it's time for him. I always say it's time for him to go to the French league, to the Belgian league, or to the Dutch league. For me, those three leagues can suit him. From there, he can go to the EPL, as Coach Suso said. For me, he has done very well. If you see the way he played in this tournament, he's not the Lorch people used to talk about. He played with no fear. He expressed himself, and a lot of, the Wydad supporters, for him to leave now, if he leave now, I mean, there's going to be something, there's something you're going to say about it, because the supporters, they really love him and the way he plays in this tournament. So I just feel like it's time for him to move forward, not coming backward.
I'm interested in what you've seen from this Ahly team, but I think we discussed it at length last week. Now, Jose Ribeiro, what positives does he take forward, and where do you think tactically he needs to rework, the areas where he needs to rework his team? Because and I'm happy that coming out of Cairo is that Wasim, the striker from Palestine, Abio Ahly, it's good to see that Ahly is not releasing him with all the good offers that are coming from Europe, because I think we're sharing here earlier that if you look at the performances and you look at the squad that they've got, they look like serious contenders to regain their title in the Champions League.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of interesting moments with Ribeiro's rebuild. It's really gave us a picture in terms of one, we'll start with group tactics, which is from a defensive perspective, which is changing point of attack, which is the transition play. And then secondly, we look at like individual tactics in terms of how they want to attack, which is using more of the wing play, which is we've always seen. He's a coach that actually likes to go through the middle and then go wide with a lot of speed, which is now on the individual side where there was a lot of penetration, a lot of width that was given and depth, and also a lot of combinations in the final third. One of the things that I can say that could be fixed in terms, it's team tactics. Team tactics how? In terms of how they shift, and then how they actually defend and into their build-up. I know he's not a coach that actually builds up a lot, but there were sometimes the schemes where most teams that they were so organized that no teams, I've seen very less of teams actually going through the heart. All teams are going through wide, so which is now we're coming to the offensive balance. Most teams had a lot of offensive balance when they wanted to actually to pin the teams up at the top. But now, how do you then, in adverse, if teams are well structured and organized, which is change point of attack, which was something that was very visible in this, where you saw a right winger playing on the left and then the left playing on the right. Why was that being done? It was done that so then there's more numbers and isolation in terms of the back four and try to stretch the defense as possible as you can.
Very interesting. So I know that some people have been talking about, North African teams are not really patient. But if you look at Al Ahly, Coach Pitso, he stayed almost 2.5 years in that job. Marcel Koller, also 2.5 years. But also the reality about those two coaches that they were achieving. They were bringing in trophies. So if Coach Ribeiro is winning, and remember, Coach Pitso, who is duration, they never won the league title. But he won at least 2 Champions League titles back to back. So if, and I'm not saying this thing because I want Ribeiro to succeed or I'm trying to defend him, but if he's winning, Al Ahly seems to be one of the more sober teams in North Africa. Yeah,
and I think also part of the pressure that's going to be piled on him is the not so good performances in the Club World Cup and the fact that they've brought players. They've brought a lot of players.
But at least for me, I think I was happy with the performance of the Club World Cup. Maybe it's just the defensive area that they need.
Or maybe the results. The performances were not that bad, but the results were not good. That puts pressure already now. I mean, you know the former players.
They're always the first.
But not like Ayaspa, without getting the facts.
When they start going to the podcast and to the internet, they talk and they pump it a little bit. I just hope give the guy a chance a little bit. They must learn from us here. When the guy came here, a lot of people already called him and take him serious. Of course, we didn't know him much now, but they will have a point of reference because they know him now. Coach Ribeiro is a quiet person. I hope he's not consumed and eaten up by the noise that's going to be happening in that club with so many supporters. But he's a good coach. I think if he's given time, if he's allowed to implement his stuff, what we saw, what he did at Pirates, I think he can do something. But for a big club like that, we all know the results are going to matter. And if he doesn't hit the ground running in the domestic season, there will be a problem. But with the reinforcements they've made, I agree with you that for me, they will definitely be the front runners to the Champions League.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting because also it's a very busy season, more on the international stage, not really for the clubs next season. So he's got enough time to even exert himself in terms of working with his team.
And the president must back him. It's very important.
Yes.
When these former players are talking, the president must back him.
Yes.
Which is what I felt the Wydad coach failed to do with Coach Rulani.
Yes.
If they had backed Rulani,
he was backing him.
yeah.
But
he was not coming out the public.
But at some stage, remember that you voted. So you had your push also turned on that.
Yeah, they moved you,
but some of the things I was hearing with Wydad is that some people really needed to make change in this project because others bebengazukudla tournament. So that's why you saw them bringing in players because football.
Complicated.
Yeah. This time around, we are talking WAFCON tournament. It's the Africa Women's African Cup of Nations, and this is what everyone has been looking forward to, expecting it, because this is a tournament that was supposed to have been played last year. Banyana was supposed to defend their tournament last year, hence it's known as WAFCON 2024. And I think for me, when you are looking at this one, South Africa beat Morocco in the final on home soil. And there's a lot of pressure for Banyana to defend this title. But I guess how it's all started, everyone is looking at the issue of these old match fees. And it's not bonuses, we must clarify that. It's not bonuses, it's match fees from the previous matches against Malawi, 2 matches we played against Malawi, also against Zambia and also Botswana. How much of a factor is it going to be going to this? Or the fact that it's all in the past, there's nothing to worry about now?
Well, it may be a factor. Fortunately, I don't know if fortunately is the right word to use. It didn't happen too close. I think there's no disruptions this week, something which happened over the last weekend. But maybe what they should have done was to try and clarify this thing before they left.
Yeah.
So that when you get there, there are no problems. I don't know what were the meetings with the leadership group and the management or team management. It's a little bit untidy, it's not good. At this level, really, we don't want to be seeing these kinds of things. I mean, even other so-called smaller countries clean their acts together before they go. So I'm a little bit disappointed that we saw what we saw. It may have an impact, especially for the younger players, maybe, because I don't know, as we speak now, they have been paid. They have found each other in terms of the discussions, but has the money landed in the e-wallet? I don't know.
True, yeah.
You know, that may be a problem because we may wake up tomorrow and say, hey, the money is not there, they're striking again. You know? So you don't want stuff like that when you go for a big tournament, really. But at the same time, I mean, are you surprised? You know, with SAFA, you know, it's a mess, this place called SAFA House. And as to how long we are going to be able to tolerate these things, I really don't know. At these tournaments, big tournaments, the margins of victory and defeat can actually be what happens behind the scenes, because the players are demoralized and the coaches are demoralized, and something also which can be used by the opposition,
Correct.
especially by the media also. So
Nigeria. You have to.
someone may send Nigerian journalists there to create the problem.
In Nigeria, we don't want excuse, man. They should be paid everything because when we meet you guys, we want to fix everything.
So for the Super Falcons,
Yeah.
I think it's that.
But going to that, in Africa, we always have this issue.
Don't just come in. Don't just come in. Don't just come in.
Okay.
Because I've got an intro for you.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna come here and grandstand on Banyana
We
Banyana.
have problems,
Because
but
the Super Falcons is a similar issue. Apparently, there's money issues, and the Super Falcons issues are even go long way back. So it's Greg. It's so unfortunate that two, arguably of the biggest, not arguably, in fact, the biggest national teams going into this tournament, there are these issues. But with Nigeria, it's worse because you always have this issue.
Nigeria is worst, as you say, but South Africa, we don't expect from South Africa because it's the first time.
Hey,
but
just
at
stick
least-
to Nigeria, man.
But yeah, no, we don't want them to bring excuses.
Stick to your country. Stick to your
But
country.
with Nigeria, you always have this issue. Even with the men, with the men team, we always have this issue. If it's not the bonus, is a camping allowance. Is the tickets. It goes back with the tickets. You fly yourself, come to a game. They don't give you your ticket money. So Nigeria is worse. But in Nigeria, they always say that if you don't want to play, the next person will play. So with Nigeria, I think in Nigeria, that's Nigeria is. You have 270 million people. So everybody wants to be a soccer player.
There's a queue outside.
So they always say that if you don't want to play, the next person want to play. But it's not something we should condone. This thing should be fixed before a big tournament like this. You're going for a tournament that is giving the country pride. You win a tournament that will give the FA money. And I just feel like this thing should be. You check. They're still the same in European. Like the English female national team, they are going for a tournament too. But this thing's from that side. It's clean. Tournament is starting the weekend. But with Africa, we always have this issue. I just feel like it's too much. Nigeria is worst.
In fact, I think, Coach Sauce, when you look at Morocco, I stand to be corrected. They are the only country on the continent. Here, we've got the Hollywood Super League, semi-professional. I know that Sundowns, there are ladies at Sundowns. I used to tease them. Hey, years gone by, I would offer you a lift. But now you are driving cars that are rivaling ours. So there's that promise. But Morocco is where they even have minimum wage for players who are playing. And it's good to see they are opening against Zambia. Now, this is a grudge game because I think the last game between Morocco and Zambia beat them 6-1. So there's a lot at stake in the opening game this weekend against Zambia. Zambia also coached by a coach coming from Switzerland. For someone like Barbara Banda, let's just listen to her because she's going to this AFCON for the first time.
For me, every game from the start is final to me. Every game is final because honestly, this team have so much improvement and, every team wants to show up. But at the end of the day, we need to have a champion, which I think Zambia will be there and any other team that's going to make it there. We are up for any team. Yeah, a lot to be said, but I think... I want to be remembered in all what I do, all the hard working, because I'm one person who doesn't want to leave anything on the pitch, and to be remembered in all the charity works that I do back home in the community. Like I'm a giver. I love helping people, so I want to be remembered for that. For me, I think honestly, I don't look on the past, whatever the past has to do with it, like in Ghana and whatever. All what I'm focusing on is this tournament, and when it starts on the 5th of July, and I'm said my cleats are ready for the games, and for always want to represent my team, my country at large, the continent at large. So it will be a very good game for me and with my teammates. So I'm so happy and excited that I will be playing at that particular time, and just know that I'm ready for the games. Yeah, a lot to be said, but I think I want to be remembered in all what I do, all the hard working, because I'm one person who doesn't want to leave anything on the pitch, and to be remembered in all the charity works that I do back home in the community. Like I'm a giver. I love helping people, so I want to be remembered for that.
Barbara Banda has been a star for this team. We know the medical issues. She couldn't be part of the previous tournaments. What are you anticipating from this opening game?
Well, for a team that have actually they've beat before, I think Morocco has actually went back and then re-prepare themselves and then start understanding where the faults were, and then we're going to try and fix that. I'm sure the deficit, they're going to try and reduce the score. With Zambia, between the two teams, there will be the more confidence, because all they got to do is work on the positive that they had in terms of how they got their results. So not to rebuild rebuild everything. So with Morocco is the one where they need to then now understand in terms of how they beat us and then how we can actually fix it from there. So this tournament gives them a platform to actually to erase the pain that are actually caused by Zambia.
What is the hype of having a coach Zizo, like Coach Jorge Vilda, who won the World Cup in 2023 with Spain? And we know that Morocco is going all out. Is there a bigger impact will that have?
Yeah, there is a bigger impact, because I've actually said, if you check at the Club World Cup, our teams, the reason why the gap keeps on narrowing with the teams from outside is because of the coaching. And I'm not saying this because I'm under many local coaches, but we are now increasingly seeing coaches from Europe who are coming onto the continent to actually add value. For the longest time, we just had people look at me, they don't know what they were doing and stuff. And it's key to have coaches who come here and really improve our players, and make them better players. If you have a coach like that with such pedigree and history and track record, I'm sure it can only be good for the players. And African players generally are players who, are coachable. Most of the guys are coachable because of the talent and because they want to sort of improve their lives. I'm more for foreigners coming and improving than these ones who are just coming here to collect the paycheck and go home and don't do anything for our football.
Yeah, I know it's still going to be very interesting, as you say. So we're also seeing more foreign coaches, top coaches, coming into the space. And Coach Des, we're coming to Coach Des. She remains the African Coach of the Year, and she's been competing against these coaches. So Coach Nora was was previously coached the Black. They call it the Black Queens from Ghana. At least she's familiar with this stage of the competition in African football as well. And it's also, I'm happy because someone like Barbara Banda, she's the reigning African Women's Footballer of the Year. And she was also in the FIFA World 11. It's not every day you've got an African player in that World 11. She's doing very well for Orlando Pride. I'm happy to see her here. But also, with all their challenges, I think the fact that Greg, the Super Falcons were not champions the last time in 2022. They are really weighing heavily in terms of, I know that this is not a World Cup where it's qualifying for the World Cup, but the pride and the consistency coming with the coach, Randy Waldram, even with all the issues you've given him in the past, Coach Waldram, but he's still there. So that continuity is key for the Super Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, it's very key, and the core of the players are still there. You have Asha that is back now, He has done it, he has won everything, but he still have that hunger. Even the friendly game they play against Ghana, he scored one of the goals, they won 3-1. I just feel like, the core of the Nigerian team, they are this from this WAFCON, and to the next one, I think they can sustain, but after then, you need to get the new players, younger ones. We have that with the men team. When the likes of JJ and Olise, they were about to go out in terms of the national team. We didn't have that sustainability of players. Mikel was the only one people thought that he's going to be the next JJ. So with the female team too, you need to have that players that are coming in, step by step, to learn from these top players. And this tournament, going to this tournament, I think because I was in Nigeria at Grand, they really want to win this tournament. They feel like they can win this tournament with the players, because most of the players are playing in the US League. They're playing in top teams, Atletico Madrid. They're playing a lot of good teams. So they feel like they have the quality to really compete in this tournament.
Are you winning it? The last time
my heart.
Are you winning it? That's the question.
Are you winning it?
What is this now?
Let me get to the
Are
finals.
you winning it?
Let me get to the finals first.
Yes or no?
Let me get to the finals.
Yes, learn from
I've learned my lesson.
the
last time
from the boys.
But also, it's not every day you have, especially for a small footballing nation like Botswana, you have the Mars, the women's team going to the WAFCON. In the same year, you've got the Zebras, the men's team going to the AFCON. And I think, for the young president, 45-year-old president of Botswana Football Association, Tariq, it's an opportunity to also grow Botswana football.
You have to be intentional with these things, and these are the results of being intentional, of being serious. For the longest time, Botswana has been being rated at that small country which nobody cared much about in terms of football. You can see what they're doing with athletics. They are unearthing gems there. Some of the top athletes in the world now are from
there.
Botswana. So it's a country that is rising. It's a country which is going to make the right noises on the continent. And as a South African, as they are our neighbors, of course, I'm Banyana.
Yes.
But whenever they play, I'll definitely be supporting them, because I'll love to see them do well for them.
Yes. I mean, they've got Tolakele there, the attacker of Sundowns, and they also have the goalkeeper also, who was also coming from Sundowns. And let's listen to her.
They're a big powerhouse for sure, but this is the second time we'll be playing them. I think we played them last WAFCON, we lost 2-0. So there was a lot to learn from that game, and also not taking anything from them, but they're good. They're still a good team, and we're willing to compete against them. So yeah, I want to be remembered as one person who gave her all every time she stepped on the pitch, always playing to have fun, always giving her best. Yeah, and also to inspire other kids to say I want to be like this person, because she always gave her best. She always leaves everything on the pitch. I feel like COSAFA have helped us a lot, because most teams have improved, and also inviting other teams from other regions also give us a different competition, and getting to deal with different strength, because they've invited Cameroon before, they've invited Tanzania before, they've invited Uganda before. So that all on its own just gave us more competition to say if you can able to beat this team, we can beat any team in there. And I think that's why you keep having more teams in the 3 teams actually in the WAFCON, which happened also last WAFCON. So for us, COSAFA have really helped us a lot, and also sponsors coming in on board, Hollywood Bets. So yeah, for us, it helped us a lot.
Yes, Sedilame, as you've just heard from her, wishing them all the best. So as you can see, those are the fixtures for this weekend. Morocco up against Zambia. You then have also Senegal up against Cote d'Ivoire. And for not Cote d'Ivoire, the Republic of Congo, Niger, the Super Falcons, playing against Tunisia.
Easy win for
as you can see the fixtures.
No. 3 points. 3 points
Algeria against
Super Falcon.
Botswana. We come to Banyana.
Yeah.
What are your expectations from this team? And we can see there are actually, somebody was telling me that we don't see Tembi here. Jermaine has already said that she's retiring after the tournament, and someone was saying there could be more retirements after this tournament. I guess it's something that we would expect maybe, but I was expecting at least other players to still stay for the next World Cup, but maybe 2027 is a bit too far for them.
Yeah, I like what Greg said, where he made mention in terms of the senior national team, the men's, where we need to start having a plan when players do actually retire, or that we have a plan of new players that will come in and then start blooding in with the new ones. Because if you have that, then you have a conveyor belt in terms of producing results. Then you don't have a problem of when a player retires, because you know already we should have actually had like 4 or 5 players that are new. That would be immediate act, because this is the thing with the national team. A national team is not a trial and error test. It's a win at all costs, because you are at the final stages of everything, because you're representing so many youngsters that are actually there. So when you get there, you need to ensure that each and every opportunity that you get, you deliver. So the importance of having a buffer where you're going to get players, if should be injuries or retirement, you also have a plan.
So understanding that next year we've got another WAFCON, and that WAFCON is a qualifying one. So maybe it has made sense that the coach has also brought in some younger talent for this one.
Yes.
So to build them for the next WAFCON, when some of these players who've been there, going to the last 2 World Cups, winning the AFCON, the WAFCON, we need now to build the new chapter.
Blending. When you blend these ones, the inexperienced ones, and you give them into this competition, at least they get the sense and the feeling in terms of what's going to be happening. As much as this one will count, but it won't count the one where you need to qualify to go to the next stage. So we need to be careful in terms of how we get them in.
How important is the understanding for the football fans, Greg and the zone now in South Africa? Because now we know that our people can be a bit fickle around these issues. To understand the vision behind it.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, I think with this short round of tournaments, we really need to manage this tradition of the players leaving. If there is going to be more. That are leaving, because it's a short turnaround.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got it on good authority that more are leaving.
You don't want to be found thin in terms of experience for the next qualifying for the next AFCON and having to qualify for the World Cup. We may see a situation where maybe we don't qualify.
Should we be worried that the coach is operating on a month-to-month contract?
That's another issue again.
That's unprofessional.
That's another issue. You can't go to the tournament without a contract. And at the same time again, for the last, the national team, the one that won it last time, it's only 14 players are going for this tournament now. But at the same time, you have the next tournament, which is not final, it's 1 year after. So you have to win it, because that one, to go to the World Cup, is the ultimate. This one, you have to win it for the pride and everything, because you're a defending champion, and you have to go and defend your cup. But the next one, that's give you that leeway to go to the World Cup. I mean, every player wants to go to the World Cup. No matter how old you are, no matter how good you are, you want to go to the World Cup. World Cup is the ultimate for any player, So, but I just feel like, for the coach too, I just feel sorry for her. She just, what can you say? I just take my heart for her, because you cannot go for a tournament every time, talking about contracts and all this stuff. She should be going to a tournament like this now, at least 2 years or 3 years contract, because you have the next tournament again, and she has done very well, in terms of proving herself. She has won the tournament, she's a defending champion, and she has done everything that could be done in terms of winning the tournament. So I just feel like she needs a contract.
I was just reading some of the names that well, now you are the last one to also talk about it. The Nigeria coach, the last time I checked, he was not paid for 7
No, he came from the school. We cannot give. He was coming from school there. We were helping him. Nigeria is a big country. No, we pay him later on. We did pay him later on. He got his money. He got his money later on. He came from a school that we give him a platform. Nigeria is a big country. Nigeria.
So you're not paying him before because
You paid for information.
No.
You were paying for
When he
information.
came, he was nobody. No, when he came, he was from a school in America. You know, so I know everything. Now he's going for a tournament that if
have you paid him now?
no, he has got some of this money.
Some of his money. That's unprofessional.
No,
but,
not
anyway,
unprofessional.
but anyway,
No, I mean,
Okay. Let's maintain South African standards.
No.
Zizong,
I'm gonna teach you how it's done.
how did it get to a situation where a coach doesn't have a contract? Is it a case of maybe, hey, if you negotiate a new contract now, you must pay him more?
It may be that. It may also just be the fact that these guys don't have money, really. You can't commit yourself to a longer contract when you don't have money. Players are not being paid. Not so long ago, they have to be paid up by the sport to pay the salaries. So, as I said earlier,
On that note,
I've always said this. This place is a complete mess, and I don't know who's going to save us.
But on that note, so, and it's interesting that you're saying that. Let's listen here because SAFA is very clear that the current bonus structure of the two senior national teams is unsustainable because of their financial situation.
I think for us, we need to accept, in terms of where we are as a federation financially, we do not have sufficient resources that we used to have, in terms of taking care of both the senior national teams, because the sponsorship for Bafana Bafana has significantly reduced, whereas Banyana we've beefed up their bonuses. The bonuses that they get now are 4 times what they used to get. However, although we increase the bonuses 4 times, we have not managed to get more funding for the team. So it means that we have to dig deep into our pockets as a federation in order to be able to meet all these obligations. And a national team is not only about bonuses. There's so many other logistics that goes into a national team. If we check preparation for Banyana since last year, May, Banyana has played 12 international friendly matches. Against Senegal in May last year, June last year. In October, they played 2 top quality friendly matches against Denmark and England. They went to Jamaica in November, December to play those friendly matches. They played Lesotho at the beginning of this year, which was mostly a locally based camp. In March, April, they played Malawi, our neighbors Malawi, and in May, June, they played against Botswana and Zambia in a 3 nations tournament.
Now, you've listened to them. They say, actually, even the Congress resolved that they must review the bonus structure. So what does this mean? Does this mean that, because I think now it's not a case of, we must always say SAFA doesn't have money. They don't have money, it's clear. So how do we move forward now?
You know what, I foresee a situation where players will start declining call-ups to come and play for the national team. Because, in the past we have had this discussion of if you are going to play for the national team is pride and stuff, but these guys, they're professionals, they need to be paid, and
especially women's football, because there's no professional league.
Football, yes.
I've heard that Bafana players sometimes, because, but with the ladies, some of them, they're not even being paid at their clubs, so this is their only source of income.
You can't be struggling at the Hollywood Bears and then struggling at
But I will beg to differ on that one. When it comes to a national team, it's a bigger platform. The money part, you build it on play. So I understand the payment, but the platform for you to raise another contract.
No, I'm not against you. But actually, some of the people I was listening to, they were basing it on what you're saying, that in other countries outside Africa, because playing for the national team is just an honor. There's no monetary
value.
In fact, even in North Africa, there's different kinds of incentives on how you get the money from the national team. So maybe how the structure, the bonus structure was negotiated in the first place was wrong here.
My point is, I'm driving from the point whereby when they decline, they decline a better opportunity for them to market themselves because there's no bigger platform than the national team.
Okay.
So I'm saying when players do go there, have a mindset that you want to break your leg to get a contract to move out from a struggling position. Because now if you decline you're also struggling in your... Yes, not for bonuses. So the biggest bonus that you might get is a bigger contract. That now when you're on that side, the national team has actually given you that opportunity. Yes, it's sad because players, it's a short-term career. So every cent that we get, we need it. Because no player is going to actually live out from the salary that he gets or bonuses from football until he turns 75. That's impossible, guys.
No, and I think that's a good point. So this is the balanced views on what we're talking about. So, SAFA chairperson of the Finance Committee, Mr. Spam, let's listen to him talking about the reduction of the NEC.
One of the proposals we put forward is to reduce our NEC. Our NEC is big. It's actually the biggest in the world because the average of NECs in Europe is around 11, 10, 12. In Africa is around 15. In Asia is also around 15. South America is just below what in Europe. So we're sitting there at 41. We're way out. And this thing does two things. One is the cost involved. Two, there's a erosion of the powers or governance quality at the various levels. So we've got this big NEC. Then it means the quality of what we're producing may not be the best. And also we're taking equality of leadership at the various other levels and elevating them to national. So then it then leaves this vacuum or equality. The other thing that's happening in South Africa that's very, very unique, you have one leader being a leader in various spheres. Like I'm a regional president, I also lead in the province, I also in the NEC. So we have to deal with those things to make sure that we align the model we're using for governance to the rest of the world. So once we do that, then EPSL, if we drop the NEC numbers to 21, EPSL with their 4, we add another one that must cater for former professional players. We must remember, former professional players are PSL babies, not our baby. And PSL, they are the ones who will decide whom they bring from. It's not us for us to decide as former. So PSL will delegate that to them, as they are the ones who are running professional football. So if we can sort those things, I think we'll be on our way to make sure we rebuild the football in South Africa. At the moment, I personally think the PSL likes what is happening because we are not giving them what they were supposed to give them, which give them a reason not to give us what they're supposed to give us. But we are the ones who are supposed to move first. Let me then reset to go. The issue here, if you look at the EPL and the relationship with the FA, you look at the Bundesliga, you look at Spain, the first thing, and you look at all the other federations of the world, the key stakeholders are represented and the voting power at Congress is allocated by key stakeholder. Let me just repeat again the stakeholders. The association football, which is us, the members, we are obligated to run the association with significant influence from the league, making sure that our focus is on youth and women, and we create enough space for futsal, beach soccer, and e-sport to operate within our association. So now, significant influence is anything between 20% and 49%. As long as PSL voting power at Congress is not in that range, PSL will gladly accept the 2.6% we give them now, but not give us money. So we have to give them that voting power. I think the majority people are willing, though when I first presented it yesterday, there were some part, but at the end of the day, when people started seeing what is it that we're suggesting and what the impact it can have in SAFA, and then everybody then joined, and then people are willing, and then I think also the regions know, because we've got only two ways we can go now. It's either we can collapse, or else we must stand up and find new ways of us to make sure that we remain sustainable and a viable association.
What are the timelines around it?
We form committees within the next 2-3 months. We will be holding a strategic session for SAFA, and then hopefully from there it's going to move. But at the same time, there's a committee as well that was formed that will deal with PSL. So we're going to engage on these things, because these things are all urgent. Because we've got AFCON coming up, we've got lots of games coming up. So when these things come, We must have dealt with the issue of how do we compensate players. Maybe now we're caught a bit off guard with the one of Banyana, but we must get to a point that by the time we go to AFCON, there's a clear new strategy of how we compensate players so that we can make sure beneficiation happens right through all in the whole ecosystem of football.
I think this is a point that everyone has been looking forward to. From this Congress, that because when you have, and apparently there's no other country around the world that has got an NEC of 41 NEC members. 41 NEC members. Because remember, those people, they are flying. They are being accommodated. They are even receiving allowances. And it's not just 41. When you include the honorary members, they go up to 48. And most countries, as you've listened to what Mr. Spam is saying here, around the world, it ranges between 10 to not more than even 18 or 20 members in terms of NSA. I think this is long overdue.
The pen has dropped. They are forced to do it now because there is no money. It's unsustainable. That's why they even want to go and tamper with the bonus structure of the players, because they just see that there's no money. You can't sustain it. They must reduce it. But now the key is they are going to fight now among themselves as to who must go and who must stay. We are going to see that fight coming up. That's why now there's a splinter group who are saying they try to remove the president, because they know that probably they are the ones who are going to go.
I saw you guys wrote something about 2317 that even though the emotions didn't really materialize, but the other guys feel that maybe on the ground there seems to be something there.
I mean, there are growing calls. But I guess sometimes when you find a situation where the president is so entrenched on this group, it's always going to be difficult to dismantle that sort of line of patronage, because over the years he has used sort of certain packs that comes with national teams and those kinds of things to reward these people who have been so loyal to him. It's going to be difficult to dismantle it, but it's an elephant, bit by piece. It's an elephant, you eat it bit by piece. It's going to collapse.
On African Football Connect, we protect our active members and we stick to the game, talking about the game, especially for people. Well, so I attended a funeral yesterday, and in fact, I was on a call with you, and let's just hear from the CAF President, Patrice Motsepe, flew all the way from the US to attend the funeral of former Sundowns chairman Angelo Tsichlas.
These are indeed extremely difficult moments. Extremely difficult moments. Last week, when I was traveling from America to China, and then I had the painful news of Natasha. And I think we're all here to express our deep gratitude. Words cannot describe. There are times when the best of words are inadequate to express what we feel. We're enormously grateful to Angelo for what he meant. In fact, I spoke to him a few weeks ago, and the purpose which we was to tell you that I wanted he and Natasha to join us in America to go and watch one of the Sundowns, and I said they would come as guests of the Motsepe family. And my wife's very all over the world, expressing the deepest condolences. When I saw you last week, the pressures in my to see that I must apologize on behalf of the chairman of the Council for the years and the emergencies in America, but you can see the contributions of you and Angelo to, we said it in the statement, that there are no quote, no contributions. Angelo's contributions, the contributions of Solomon, the contributions of Baby Crop and Crop family, you are the people that have made Motsepe Sundowns what it is. And that's why today there's a picture of respect and appreciation of wine to us. Remember that Angelo was a special human being because we were at the time. I just want to say that there's very little and what staff was told with us. Because I had come with legend to come express my. And they said to me that there was a little girl who lives near to where your house is. And on Valentine's Day, this little girl gave Angelo sweets to celebrate Valentine's Day with Angelo. And of course, my sons were telling me how much Angelo would always make time. So let me just say that we want to deeply and Chiclas enormously. We're deeply grateful. We're grateful to you, Natasha. We're grateful to you. We're grateful to Laura. We want to thank the church. We want to thank the Greek community. Angelo represents the best. The very best. The very best of what the Chiclas family meant to us. And what the Greek community experience was leading to this country. And Angelo will forever be part of the Motsepe Sundowns family. Will forever be part of the We are deeply, deeply grateful. Thank you so much.
Phenomenal.
The memories come from the moment Zabo John Tlale. We got to be very close to the Chiclas family when our John Tlale was still part of Mamelodi Sundowns. And that obviously translated to where we at now. And as part of this family, as part of the institution, as part of this Mamelodi Sundowns family, you feel obliged to come and pay respect to the person who's been part of this great history in this club. And we say to the family, we wish them great strength. And we appreciate the life that he borrowed us. We appreciate the opportunities introduced to many of us. And we appreciate the fact that he was part of Mamelodi Sundowns and seeing Mamelodi Sundowns where we at now. It was great honor and privilege to share a life of his. And part to what the family was saying in the morning was his contribution, his humility, the responsibility. It's all core human values that most of us could possibly learn from. And we appreciate that. It is not only death that we have to regret, but we also have to look back and celebrate his life and remember all that he stood for. Was a great human being who left a great legacy.
Well, I was fortunate, born at the right time, maybe. Yes, because after playing at Sundowns, I stopped playing professional football because there were people who came with different ideas to say, "No, man, trot. You know, if you leave football because of you being a teacher, we'll want you to teach them from outside, not inside." Now, those are the ways of Angelo Tsichlas, because I then came to work with him at Mamelodi Sundowns under Mario Tuane. Myself and Chiclas were Mario Tuane's assistant. So it was, quite interesting, learning so many things. At that time, I did not even think of becoming a teacher. A teacher, a field assistant coach. But I then had this all the time to be there to see what are they doing and stuff like that. And quite amazing that this person came all the way from Greek and came to work for Mamelodi Sundowns, just to be closer to a person who we are overseas. That's exactly what I did.
So he was your coach at the time before, because I think you were telling me that you were a co-assistant with him.
Oh yes, co-assistant and coached by Mario Tuane, and quite a lot of things. I mean, Mario Tuane was always coming from overseas, and he came with a lot of new ideas, and. We were there all the time, but sometimes you'll take a break, and then myself and Angelo will then go and teach what Mario Tuane was doing at that time.
I think one of the things, as we're also listening to even Coach Steve Kompela there, that is clear, is that Sundowns didn't just start now, even after the arrival of the Motsepe family, to be this strong Sundowns. They are playing their first CAF Champions League final in 2001.
Yeah, younger guys will not know that Sundowns went to the Champions League final in 2001. They lost to Ahly.
2000,
Yeah. Yeah, with the Chokus, the Bambush. That strong team. When in the midst of all that stuff was Angelo Tsichlas.
Who was this man?
Angelo Tsichlas was. I actually don't know what was his position at Sundowns. He was just there because of being the husband to Natasha, also being relative to Peter Kotrolis, and also there was Peter Kotrolis' wife Maria at the Sundowns office. They were the people who were asked by the Krok brothers who owned Sundowns, the spring guys, to run this club on their behalf, and they did a lot of good work with this club. Obviously taking over from the legendary era of Zolama Obe, coming this way. And I think they turned Sundowns to be competitive almost on the same level as Chiefs and Pirates, which were stronger at that time. Somebody who I've known very well, Angelo, over the years, and we had our moments. At some stage, we really came to blows, because things got a little bit heated. Guys who really loved Sundowns. He loved Sundowns. I think a few years ago he came back to the club, but he didn't stay for too long and he left again. And,
during Coach Peter's era, eh?
Yes. When Peter called me last week to give me the news, I was very, very saddened that he died, and also the way he died in an accident. It was a sad end to his life, but a man who really, we didn't celebrate him enough in football. I think maybe we must just sort of honor Natasha in a way of honoring him.
I mean, the Iron Lady, we've seen more, or we know more of the Iron Lady, but behind the Iron Lady,
he was
behind her interest to be in football, there was this strong voice, as you hear from Coach Steve Khombela, that he was also a football man through and through, even coaching with him.
At some stage, he claimed to have been a good coach. I don't know about that one, but but he was there. So I mean, he said that,
and also fitting that. Okay, we can't say fitting, but maybe we can say interesting that. Okay, try the wrong word. Not interesting, but the way things happen, just when Sundowns finish their Club World Cup participation, he passes away.
Good to see that.
Yeah, it's sad. It's very, very sad. I couldn't make it to the funeral because of other engagement, but I'm sure you were there. You guys gave me a good send off, and maybe these boys will need the Champions League for him. He tired and he felt this time.
Oh yes.
Who knows? But yeah, you are right. Football went through, and may his soul rest in peace.
Well, from that somber moment, we go to East Africa, Yanga. There are a lot of talking points around this one because it's a game that was almost even played at the Court of Arbitration of Sport. But we finally see Yanga winning it. We would have loved to see our brother Fatu winning this one. But I guess it also talks to the competitiveness of what we've grown to see of that league Ukariba there.
For me, I mean, Kwesi was there too. He is one of the contributors in terms of where Yanga, the points they have. So, but for me, I just feel.
Can someone say something?
I have to put it in because he was part of the progress. Yeah, he was part of the progress in terms of the points they have. He collected some points. Yeah, he collected some points. He was top. He was on top. Okay. Because with Simba will play lesser game. Yes. They played lesser game, and with Fadu did very well. I mean, that game was, first half was 0-0. The game come to life in the second half. But you can see, Dube, from Zimbabwe. Yes. You can see the quality, Yanga have. They have too much quality, and
without Aziz Ki.
Yeah. I just feel like without Aziz King, they have quality to beat Simba, because the thing with Simba and Yanga, the rivalry is too much, which I feel like sometimes is just out of contents, in terms of how you put it, because football is just you play football to enjoy, but going out of the pitch, in terms of what is happening, going to court, you want refs from Egypt, because it's good to get a ref from outside the country because they know what the two teams are doing. But the ref on that day was top, because he's not from Tanzania there, and the game was fair, and Yanga won fair and square, and they beat Simba, which for me, I feel for Fadu because he has contributed a lot to get something out of this league. But I think there's next season again for him to do well.
I guess for Fadlu, there's a lot to build on from now going forward next season.
Lots of positives. I think he's brought in structure. He's given hopes into the team in terms of, he's given them the philosophy in terms of how he wants to play, how he actually select players that are fitting for the system that he wants to play, and the progression in terms of the league within, also competing on the African space.
And he's going to the Champions League, so this is something very interesting for him. And I'm happy to see them that they are giving him now even a blanket check to sign top players.
He must come to South Africa to get some players to help him there. He knows better, but he played the Confederations Cup, he saw the Champions League. There's quality players he can come and get.
He was also in the final.
I'm sure as a coach, his profiling is actually on point. He will know what he needs and what is fitting for certain positions.
Now, I've been toying here to talk transfers. We don't have enough time to talk transfers. But
but coach is disappointed. He wanted to talk about transfers.
Next week he must come. Bring Flavio, that Flavio I want to.
What's the issue with Flavio?
No. You can't score 3 goals or 4 goals. And you want to come and no. We don't know him. No, we don't know
that's
him.
A big
Peter playing in Indonesia.
No, where big player?
He's a player that
what's happening with Shalulile, by the way?
No.
Yeah, Shalulile talked that he may be leaving Sundowns. I don't know. But with the president here, anything is possible.
But Chiefs, this is Peter here. What more do you want? A try and tested player that played the league, won it with Sundowns. Take him over to Chiefs. Let's compete.
I saw you posting a video today. Wasn't Ndlovu there in that training?
No.
So Ndlovu was not there? No. So
I'll have to speak to my guys at the airport to see
because running about introduce one by one.
I'll have to speak to my guys at the airport.
Maybe today it was the time for the overseas contingent.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
because I'm told they're pushing very hard for it.
And then now we're moving to the local contingent. Save
the best for last.
There's also drama with who's gonna buy this team and what's happening and Bloemfontein and this and that. And
No. I'm staying there deliberately. What's happening there? I saw you posted a video.
Yeah, well, Super Sport are training. The players have not been told anything. They are continuing as normal. Some of the players who were not there were those who were with Bafana, because they've got an extended break. Tulan Tlazoe was not there. Ndlovu was not there. But most of the players who were there last season were there. They are continuing as normal until the press release dropped in our inbox.
Get used to people called Sikhulele investment. Yeah, the Sikhulele investment. Some people are making moves behind the scenes. Some big names will be coming up. We were supposed to talk about, we'll have to wait about it, but we are going to drop it in the next few days on this channel of African Football Connect. The interview we did with Coach Kwesi Appiah, he is part of Asante Kotoko, who were here playing the Toyota Cup against Kaizer Chiefs. But part of the people we are also talking to there is about Coach Florent Ibenge. And it looks like
top coach.
Top coach.
Top.
Could soon be coming to the shores. But as to where, let's wait.
Big scope.
Victories are occupied,
must brush up your French now.
Yeah. On that note,
français, mon ami.
On that note, mon ami, we say
ciao.